refresh it several times. Okay. Um, all right. Looks like we are live. All right. Welcome everyone to the third episode of the Team Serenity live streams. Woo!
Ooh.
I'm still trying to wake up.
and this time, what better way to celebrate the success of Sonic Movie 3 than doing the Sonic Movie 3 review for the third episode? um, how this is going to work is that we're going to be talking about 12 different segments, which the first segment is
Wow.
yes, and of course, joined here my two BFFs who form Team Serenity with me, Doom the MemeQueen and Andrew HVA.
We're dope.
All right, so we are going to start out with the first segment, which is Shadow's characterization. So, who would like to start?
I'm not the best at explaining things, so Andrew, you do it. I'm still trying to wake up.
Oh, Shadow's characterization. Yeah, it was fantastic in the film. They nailed his character like perfectly, transitioned onto the big screen. And it's just they handled it with so much care and passion. Yeah, I just feel like this is actually one of the best versions of Shadow we've had in a long time. They really gave him justice, and he was edgy, likable. You know, you could feel his emotion, you could feel his pain, and the voice of Keanu Reeves. Um, yeah, no, it was fantastic, and I would definitely say this is like a great take on Shadow for the film, and I look forward to seeing him return.
Mm, nice. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like you can tell like the people behind it, they really put so much care because they know that like okay, we're putting the second most popular character in the entire Sonic franchise. We have to be sure that we characterize him, where where we are taking note of like how he became who he is, and by doing that, like you can really tell that they put so much care into it. Like you
Yeah,
can tell like all this care into it because if they portrayed him so differently, the Sonic fans would be, you know, mixed about it, I would say. They would be
yeah.
mixed, they would complain. But I have to say Shadow's characterization in this film is just top notch. It's like
Oh,
probably
very.
it's probably one of my favorite characterizations other than SA2. Which of course what Sonic Movie 3 is based off of. um but I kind of like though that they kind of put some interesting characteristics that are unique to the film, which is separate from the game counterpart. And yeah, like I think even with just the small subtle stuff that they show about Shadow, like the fact is that what I love is that in the movie they actually let him smile. Like
Yeah,
like because I know it's like I know some people like really comment that like I love how Shadow is actually, they're not restricted to just make him frown all the time, but here in the movie they're not afraid to show him like actually smiling.
yeah.
And
He's alive. Yeah.
yeah,
She's
because
a baby.
so yeah, I think what I also love is that of course, if you notice that I kind of love how they kind of sneaked in that meme about Shadow loves Latinas.
Gabriella should kill them both.
Like, I love how they sneaked that meme in. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, the telenovela part. Like, when I saw that part and then he just comments on it, I'm just like, yeah, they had to sneak in the Shadow loves Latinas joke in me. um, but I found it interesting he got invested in a telenovela character. Like, even though he's like, his main goal is like revenge, right? He actually takes time out of his like, okay, revenge thing. Okay, I'll invest in this a bit and I'll just comment on it. So like, and of course the infamous like scene about revenge guac. I know that became a meme. um
Revenge
but
Squad.
But I kind of like though. I'm not sure if you guys noticed. Like, I know there was like this thing that was going around when the first trailer came out for movie 3, where like movie Shadow kicked Tails, and then people started to comment, "Oh my gosh, why does Tails always get the treatment from Shadow?"
Yeah,
And
Tails abuse.
like it's so weird. I'm just like, and I'm like, I have to say that Sonic got the worst out of the three. So I'm like, I don't know why people be out talking about Tails while Sonic got like got the worst beating from Shadow in the movie. Like, um, but how about you, Dim? What did you think of Shadow's characterization in the movie?
John Wick the Hedgehog.
John Wick.
Which is really fitting though. I can't really like if it like John like I now that I think about it, John Wick fits Shadow so much, and like I'm honestly like surprised and not surprised that they got Keanu to do his voice. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he when he does Shadow, you can't help but think of John Wick, right?
Yeah.
Right. Come on.
Their
I'm
stories
just
are similar.
exactly.
But yeah, yeah, you can definitely say that it really hits home, that Keanu plays two characters that have very similar, backstory. So it's totally understandable. Any other thoughts about Shadow's characterization in movie 3?
The
No. Nah, I've got nothing. I think he's just perfect.
yeah, he's perfect.
He's too perfect.
Yeah, like
He's
you can
breathtaking.
yeah, like like you can tell like they put so much care into it, where it's like this really rivals the game counterpart from Sonic Adventure 2, you know. And they make him very human, which where they actually make him feel a range of emotions.
Yeah, not just like some sort of comet in the sky that came
Yeah.
from the sky. I mean,
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Like Shadow's characterization is just solid. I remember when I played the Sonic X Shadow Generations DLC, the movie DLC, I was like Keanu like sounded very decent in the DLC. I'm like, I can't wait to hear more when movie 3 came out. And so yeah, like Shadow's characterization just solid. All right, so here's the next
Absolutely
segment.
solid.
Here's the next segment we're going to be talking about: game lore versus movie lore. Oh my gosh.
Oh. The showdown. Game versus movies.
who will win?
Yeah, like
Only one way to find out.
so all right,
Yeah, I definitely heard that.
so how we are going to do this one is that we can talk about the game lore a bit from Sonic Adventure 2, and a bit of the Shadow the Hedgehog game. And if you want to talk about, Sonic X Shadow Generations, because that kind of adds more into the lore for Shadow. So let's start with the game lore because the game lore has a lot more than the movie. So, um, what do you think was adapted well? Um, you know, for that made sense for the game lore from both of your guys' opinion.
I thought we were talking about the difference between them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we're gonna start. We're gonna start with the game lore. So game lore, we're gonna basically what happens is that um, okay, I'm trying to figure out where to start for this because the game
Exactly,
lore.
because I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay,
What's the question again?
okay, let's talk about the game lore first.
Right.
Sonic Adventure 2, that's where it all started. So let's start with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sonic Adventure 2, we kind of, and if I remember, Shadow gets freed by Eggman in Prison Island, right? And then, we kind of learn a bit more from, Team Dark's side of the story, right? Where Eggman frees Shadow, and of course, Eggman thinks it was Sonic. um, but then was able to distinguish, wait, you're not Sonic. um, and then of course we kind of delve into where Shadow gets, flashbacks of Maria, when it came to Rouge. Because I believe if I remember correctly, Rouge couldn't get out, because I think they were gonna detonate. I know at some
Yeah.
point,
It was trapped. Yeah.
and then like it was showing flashes between Maria and Rouge, and then he's like, okay, like Shadow kind of like, okay, I kind of feel obligated to save your butt, Rouge. um, and then, and then what's interesting is that we find out, that Rouge was kind of like pretty much a double agent, and she had to get like information, classified information about Project Shadow. and and I think, this kind of delved into the question of like whether if, the Shadow in Sonic Adventure 2 was the real one or the fake one. and and I think that kind of like made fans debate over the years, I think, until I think confirmation in the Shadow the Hedgehog game, if you're facing the final boss, and I think it's like a certain amount of like after like a certain amount of minutes, like Dr. Eggman reveals, oh, you are the real Shadow. Um the and then of course, once Amy's MVP for convincing Shadow to save the people of the Earth in Sonic Adventure 2, even though his main motivation was pretty much revenge, because of Maria, dying at the hands of like a gun soldier, you know. And then of course, what I love is that like, because of Amy, Shadow was able to remember Maria's actual promise to give people of the earth a chance. And and um Sonic and Shadow turned super. I know there was a bit where he faces the bio lizard. Shadow faces the bio lizard. And then, am I missing anything, Andrew? I hope I'm not missing anything from Sonic
Um.
Adventure.
I don't think so. I think you've covered most of it. Fire lizards. Amy. I think you've covered everything so far.
And then, yeah, and then of course Sonic and Shadow turn super to face the Bio Lizard because the Bio Lizard wants to steer the space colony arc to the Earth. And then of course presumably that was when Shadow was supposed to die, but because Shadow became such a popular character with the fans, they decided to bring him back in Sonic Heroes. And we kind of get a glimpse into, in Team Dark's story about the Shadow androids, right? And then,
Hmm.
and of course, as we know, Shadow got amnesia, which is why he was trying to find answers. um, and at the end of the Team Dark story in Sonic Heroes, like you see all these like shadow androids, and then like you see, I think Rouge was there, and then Omega was like, oh, the real one must exist somewhere. So yeah, and it kind of leaves that cliffhanger. And then of course we get into Shadow the Hedgehog, where we actually learned that Shadow was actually an experiment where he actually has some Black Arms DNA. um,
Yeah, yeah,
and then he has so many different story paths, which gonna take too long to explain. um, if anything, but if you but to get the gist of it, he is part Black Arms and he's biologically Black Doom's son.
yeah. Made from Doom.
Wait, what?
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, yeah, he Shadow is part Black Arms that we learn in Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yeah, part
and
Mhm.
Doom.
and Black Doom was trying to manipulate Shadow to gather all the Chaos Emeralds because according to, what we learn is that Professor Gerald made a deal with Black Doom to pretty much just, you know, that like I think it's like Black Doom said he'll give some of his DNA, I think, and stuff
Yeah.
to Professor Gerald as long as he promises him the 7 Chaos Emeralds. I think that was the deal that was made. Um
He made
if
a
I
deal with the devil. I'm sorry.
Oh no, no,
Yeah,
oh no,
pretty much.
you are exactly right. Even though you meant it as a joke, but it's pretty much what it was. And then
Oh
of
my god.
course, and then we kind of get more context from Sonic X Shadow Generations, because I know you played it also. You played Shadow Generations, Andrew. That um
I
Professor
did.
Ger- that Professor Gerald, like, um like he actually wanted to find a cure, so that's why Project Shadow was also, like, that's why he was created to help at least find a way to cure Maria of her illness, you know,
Mm.
and everything. So, and then what's interesting is that right after Shadow defeats Black Doom in, Shadow the Hedgehog, he decides to, say farewell to his past, right? And moving on. And then we get more context of Shadow Generations. And because of the Time Eater, because of the Eggmans, um, wanting to mess with time, that accelerated Black Doom into like, oh, thanks to this time anomaly. Like, way to go, Eggman. um, yeah, that Black Doom was able to return. and and then when Shadow started activating his actual Doom powers, it's because okay, Andrew, I think you might know this a bit more than me. Was it because man, it's kind of hard to explain it from Shadow Generations, but
Yeah, something to do with Doom trying to get inside Shadow's mind and take over his body.
What are you talking about?
Not you.
I'm kidding, okay.
You did not give Shadow wings.
yeah, like because I'm trying to exactly remember about because Shadow was like thinking, wait, how how am I getting these new powers? because he's like, it's something I should never be able to do, but he said it still felt natural, which is quite interesting dialogue, you know. um because it's pretty obvious that they're trying to establish that Shadow is part, part alien. um
Mm.
and and everything. Am I missing anything from Shadow Generations, Andrew?
Um, apart from like he sees Maria again, or did you mention it? I can't remember now. I got so distracted about the wings.
Okay. Yeah. Of course, because of the time anomaly, it brought Gerald and Maria, and from what we can from what Shadow deduced, they came from a point in time before the Ark disaster, and Shadow is thinking maybe I can change their fate where they actually live,
Mm.
and 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 I find that so interesting that Shadow's like, maybe I can change, maybe I can change their fates, and what I found very interesting is that I don't remember if this was mentioned in the original Shadow the Hedgehog game, but I know you mentioned it, Andrew, that like Black Doom was trying to take over Shadow. I don't know if that was ever mentioned in the original Shadow the Hedgehog game.
I don't think it was. I think it's just for this game. That's why he was getting the Doom powers and the way to like, the Doom wings, the Doom surfing squid thing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, because that part was interesting because it's like maybe because Black Doom was literally saying that like, "Oh, I couldn't get you to side with me, so I'm gonna have to try a different way and take over um your heart and mind, you know."
Yeah,
Which
your
is an
heart and soul.
which is very interesting, you know.
Also
Because
scary, really. In
yeah,
Shadow's perspective, that's quite scary.
yeah, because literally the dude overcame all of that, and then it's like the past just comes back to haunt him again. It's like,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, like imagine being at work and you start growing wings. You know what I mean? It's like, whoa, it's scary.
oh my god. But yeah, like I think I'm not sure if you I know there's a specific dialogue that Rouge says at Chaos Island, Andrew. I'm not sure if you caught it, but she actually said, "Oh, you're hanging with the professor and Maria again." And then like she literally says, like when you go to talk to her, like she literally says, it's like, enjoy every moment you have with them. And she said, don't forget you're not the same Shadow they knew. I'm
Yeah.
not sure
Yeah,
if you
actually, no, I
saw.
do remember that. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, and I know she also says that here it is staring at you in the face. And I'm like, like Rouge knows how Shadow is feeling. Like he doesn't even have to say it. She can just say it for him because she knows him very well. And but I think I think what I found interesting is that I think what it was is that before he decides to confront, Black Doom, you know, I think what I loved in that specific scene is that he actually smiled for Maria. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, he's smiling, he's not frowning, he's actually giving a genuine smile. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice to see that. It was quite a nice moment. Didn't you also smile at Big, or was I just imagining that?
I think he was just like,
He
um,
smirked, right?
I'm, I'm not
Or am I just
sure.
making stuff up?
I think he made it up because when I see the cutscenes, because you can look in the collection room in Shadow Generations for the cutscenes when he meets the other characters. Like he just looks like he doesn't say anything, but his mouth just opens like okay. Like I guess he's just saying okay, just like indifferent, I think. um
I quickly just googled it. Apparently, it's very subtle. Shadow smiles when he runs into Big, so he does kind of smile at him.
Yeah, I
yeah,
see it. I see it.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
not obvious, but it's like you said, Andrew, it's just subtle.
yeah. So Shadow's happy to see Big. How nice is that?
Big
But
is lovable.
Mm.
yeah, but I would say
Lovable and huggable.
but I would say at least that Shadow at least got closure in Shadow Generations because
Yeah, it's great closure. Yeah,
because
it's
I
like
know
his story's come full circle.
yeah, because I think that with with Shadow the Hedgehog, people call that the closure where it's like, oh, that's why he's saying bye. He's saying bye to his past and he's moving on. But I feel like Shadow Generations kind of gives it more clarity and more closure because like at the end of it, because the time anomaly is healing, you know, um Gerald and Maria are going back to to their point in time. And Shadow's like, but you don't know what's gonna happen. And Maria is just like, she kind of comforts him and says, like, even if fate takes us far apart, I'll always be in your heart. And
Sounds like
then
lyrics.
yeah, it actually kind of does sound like lyrics, but at least he kind of realizes like okay, it's like he had to grip with the reality that like okay, it looks like they made their choice, you know. Like I think that's what he's thinking. It kind of felt like he's like okay, it it it's kind of like they made their choice, it's like he can't really do anything to stop it because like everything has to be restored, you know. um and and that part did make me cry. I cried when I saw that part, the ending of Shadow Generations.
What's it like crying?
But I think what was the cherry on the top, Andrew, for that ending was literally Rouge feeling the tear, like when
Oh
Shadow
yeah,
skated right past her, and she's like, and then she just smiled because she's like, okay, I'm not gonna say anything, but she understood. Like it's just that gesture alone where she's like, she has that expression of like shock, and then she's like, okay. um,
yeah. I mean,
the
Shadow's quite an emotional guy, so
Yeah, because you could say he doesn't really show it in front of like other people, you
yeah, he
know?
likes to show that he's strong and independent, but deep down he's like, quite a very passionate, emotional guy.
You just like me for real.
Yeah. So, just to be sure, did I cover the main bases of the game lore? At
Oh
Wait,
least.
what?
yes, definitely. Yep, that's the main basis.
Okay. So,
Sheesh.
yeah, that was the entire game lore. Movie lore. Oh my gosh, the movie lore, on the other hand, I have to
Oh
say
yeah,
it
very.
I have to say it works for the movie.
I mean, the movie version is quite not like drastically different, but quite different enough to be its own thing. I mean, Gerald, for example, was like a full-on villain in the film version, and in the games, he seems so much more friendly in some aspects, especially in Shadow X, Shadow Generations. Um, so yeah, it's quite different in areas. I believe like Maria is like not, doesn't have an illness in the movie version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just happens to be the favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's the favorite. She's just there and follows the professor around.
Like, I think, even though they're very similar, like, because we know, like, Eggman in the games, we kind of get a hint of it in Frontiers, in the egg memos. I'm not sure if you've listened to all the egg memos, Andrew, in
No,
Sonic,
I didn't know.
We're supposed to listen to the memos?
because like some
Apparently,
of
yeah.
What the
because because they actually kind of chronicle Eggman of what he was doing there in the thing, but there is a bit where he kind of talks about Maria a bit in one of the egg memos.
Are we still
And
talking about the movie lore?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm just kind of saying how it's similar because what I'm getting at is that how like in the movie that it's like you said, Andrew, Gerald is like just a full-on villain in movie 3. Um but like the fact is that both the movie and game versions of Eggman, they both were like pretty much neglected. That's what's similar about it. But the difference is, like you
Yeah.
said, that Maria had no illness. She was just the favorite grandchild. And that really hurt when I heard Gerald say that to Ivo. I'm just like, oh, that's cold, bro.
Yeah.
The fact
I
that
know
he's so
Maria.
like I was like, and I said, dude, that's messed up. Like, because as we can clearly see in the movie, that Ivo pretty much like suffered from like abandonment issues, because he
Yeah.
literally said he didn't even have any family at all. And then Gerald just came into his life for, yeah, I don't, like, I guess just to use him. um because that's what it sounded like, but still, like, that part really threw me off. Like, did you actually feel bad for Ivo in that moment, Doom, when he said you're no Maria?
I don't know. I never had abandonment issues.
Like, I
I
kind of just
mean, for me, it just made me think. He says you're no Maria. It made me think. So everything like said like Maria's done a lot more better things than obviously what Robotnik did. So when they had that dance off, technically Maria's done something better than that.
yeah,
But we never saw it.
yeah, like, because I think like what the movie lore does is that I'm trying to think what else. Oh yeah, like I know in the movie that the Eclipse cannon was not in space, or like I guess
No,
there's
it
some
was
version of it was in London.
in London
Under
of all places.
it was in your country, Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was it like seeing that out there?
Like
Oh,
that.
quite scary. I was looking up and seeing it fly away, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, end of the world."
Like, I found that so interesting in the change in the lore in the movie, but it actually works too. Like, because like they're like, okay, we need to get this other key, right? Because they have to have like two key cards or something to activate it, I guess. And I'm like,
Yeah,
and I noticed, I'm like, that is so interesting how because I know the Space Colony arc was always up there in space in the games, but in the movie, it was like, I guess, hidden away in like in the water, I guess.
yeah. I mean,
I thought,
technically, it makes more sense in the movie verse because they took it away from Gerald and they sealed it away, which is why it's near their headquarters underwater in London. Because when you think about the games, it doesn't really make sense that this whole asteroid out there in space is just sitting there, and like the Space Colony Arc is just hidden in space, just sitting there all these years.
yeah, but I definitely agree, Andrew. It does make a lot of sense in the movie lore, you know.
Yeah,
So like I love that change that they did in the movie because it makes it, even though it's adapting like similar story concepts from the Sonic Adventure 2, it's still its own thing at the same time.
Mm.
um, but I think what I love though, like in the movie, you know how like in the game, right? How Eggman decided to blast away half the moon, but in the movie, they make it as a funny moment.
Yeah, like it's by accident.
I love that change in it because I get it. It's supposed to be a comedic moment. um, but I kind of like that they're actually trying to steer the laser away from the Earth.
And then
And
hit the moon.
Yeah.
and my favorite moment of like, ooh, look what you did. Like, I was, and when I saw that part, I was just like, Ivo, you're just as guilty as the other two. Why are you blaming just the other two?
Because he's evil.
Like, and their faces were so glorious in that moment too. Like if you would have paused it at the right moment, they're like their faces were so hilarious in that. And I think also what was different is that if you remembered, I know they mentioned by dialogue and there was a specific scene that Shadow came from a meteorite. What did you guys think of that in the movie?
um, I guess they're trying to say like he came off the Black Comet from Black Doom, I guess. So they're trying to do a different approach. Instead of being made from the DNA, maybe he is actually from Doom in the movie verse. But yeah, so what's so funny?
No, because every time you say do,
You know, I mean Black Doom, but
I know. I know. Anyway.
yeah, Shadow has come from you.
Anyway, I mean, I really like that detail because I honestly have no idea what Shadow is like just made of or something, why he takes the form of a hedgehog or so. But like him coming from a meteorite just makes Shadow's character a little bit more interesting in it.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess, but to be fair, I guess it doesn't make sense why he's a hedgehog, does it?
yeah.
He
Because at least
probably never
we
mind.
know, at least we know that he was an experiment, which is why he was a hedgehog in the games. But
Mhm.
you know, which obviously, you know, yeah. But with the film, it's just like it's just a black hedgehog that came out of a meteorite, a
Yeah.
comet.
But I kind of like that it actually works though because it makes it more mysterious, you know? Because
Mm.
because I find it interesting, that he wasn't created, he was just found in a meteorite. And then of course the
Yeah,
gut scientists just were like they just wanted to figure out what his powers, what he could do, and I kind of like in the movie that I think there's like a dialogue. I think when Maria and Shadow were just watching, like, no, wait, I think it no I think it was like at nighttime they were in the meadow or something. um Literally Shadow like told Maria that um the scientists look at me like they're afraid, you know like 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 he can literally see, like he actually exemplifies human emotions, that like it's like they're afraid of me because of my powers, you know
yeah,
and it kind of gives it more nuance, and I love that they do that in the movie, you know because I've never even, like, to my knowledge, I never heard Shadow ever say that they were afraid, like the gun scientists were like afraid of him, to my knowledge. The movie kind
yeah.
of that nuance about it, and I'm trying to think what was the other changes in the movie. Um, did you guys catch anything that was different from the game?
The fact
In
that
the
Maria died on Earth instead of in space.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's true, yeah. And the fact is that Yeah, that's true. Like she actually died from an explosion, not from a gunshot, which is also the change.
Yeah.
Um, and what's interesting is that I kind of like how Commander Walters actually has more like I don't know if he's supposed to represent Abraham or Abraham Towers,
Man,
or
screw Abraham Tower. He's a. Never mind.
but because Commander Walters was more sympathetic, if you know what I mean. Like because remember
Yeah.
like, Abraham Towers in the games, like he despised Shadow. Like he called Shadow a freak. Because remember in the Sonic X Shadow Dark Beginnings animation, and you see Abraham as a kid, and he literally
Yeah.
said, "Keep that freak away from me," right? Like here, Commander Walters was more sympathetic in the movie, and I love that. Like, and the fact is that I think when the gun soldiers were after Gerald, Shadow, and Maria because they wanted to take Shadow away from them, he literally called Shadow a kid. Like, I'm not sure if you guys caught that
Oh
when you
yeah, I did.
watched.
Yeah.
Oh, like yeah, I did. He was
It
like, "What
says
are you
they're a kid.
doing? They're children here."
Yeah,
Yeah. So does
like
that make Shadow a kid in the movie verse?
He's just a baby.
Technically, he's just
like
a baby.
He's just a baby that still happens to know how to use a laser and a motorcycle.
He talks with a manly voice.
yeah, like and I
He might
love
be
that.
just 3 years old. We don't know.
but what I love
Or
is
he's
that
6.
but what I love is that Commander Walters is more sympathetic than Abraham Towers. That's what I love in the movie. Like I love that like he actually had to tell Shadow's tragic backstory to Sonic, Tails and Knuckles, you know, and and I found that so interesting. And of course another change that was in the movie is that the chows are like little
Yeah.
mascots instead of
Chow
being
Garden is actually a cafe.
like like that was so interesting, but I would totally love to see that in IRL. What did you think of that scene, Doom? That the Chow is actually like their mascots in a cafe restaurant thing.
Look, if that was a real place, I would love to go there with my siblings. Why the hell not?
I would. I'll get there for my birthdays.
um is there any other changes in the movie that's different from
Oh
the
yeah,
game?
there's the lack of Rouge, the bat, who was in Adventure 2 and not in the movie. There's a lack of her in this whole thing. There's a change.
Yeah, that changes the story so much.
um oh yeah, another is that Gerald is actually alive. Um
Yes, of course.
Over 100 years old.
yeah,
110.
I said
like
over 100, so that's
Yeah,
an
sorry. Yeah.
estimate. I'm about to.
but I actually liked the change that they did, and I think I forgot who explained it. I think they said the reason Gerald was able to stay alive, because yeah, by the time I think it's because he kept putting Shadow's quill in his mouth. I
Yeah.
guess apparently that's supposed to.
Apparently, yeah. There's a deleted scene apparently where he explains it, and it's apparently it's to do with the quill. He keeps licking it. He
yeah,
has a
so
strange addiction,
Wow.
which must run in the Robotnik family because Robotnik too gets obsessed with Sonic's quill.
mhm. And of course, another change in the movie I have to say is how Gerald dies. But Gerald dies in a more comedic way in the movie.
Just get zapped by a quill and then. Well, that was anticlimactic.
Yeah, right. The
Exactly.
butt.
That's
Like,
what. Never mind.
but yeah, all these changes, I think it made a lot of sense for the movie, and I'm glad they made these changes. You
I
know,
also love how they gave Maria a little bit more of a childlike personality.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Maria definitely had more character in the film compared to the games.
Yeah, because I know I was discussing this with my other friends that like, did you notice that Maria was so energetic and it doesn't even look like she's sick at all? And and I was like, this is so interesting. Like I love the changes they did because it actually benefited the film, because
Mm,
where it has the similar elements, it has the similar elements that, Shadow ends up losing Maria in both the game and the movie, but in different ways. But it actually works for the respective medium, respective media that it was created for. And I'm really glad they went with a different route with Maria's death because I don't know how I would feel if they went with the gunshot by a gun soldier. So I'm glad they changed that in the movie. Um because it made it more tragic for Gerald and Shadow, you know.
yeah.
So I think it added some nuance because like at least an explosion was a lot more like, that's kind of more like at least like, okay, we get it, like we kind of get the gist that Maria died from the explosion. Any other changes that I'm missing from the movie?
We've been covering this segment for a while that we haven't gone to the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Like
So
I did not expect like the whole game lore to be this complex or something, and I'm like, I'm still trying to wake up. Okay, come on.
all right. So let's go to the next one. Dealing with loss, pain, and grief. So what I've noticed in all three of the Sonic movies, they have like this thing where they deal with where Sonic and Shadow, well, we're just gonna talk about those two. It has a recurring theme of dealing with loss, pain, and grief. And it's
Mm,
very, very apparent in this film. Um, and and I kind of like how they tackle it in these films because in the games Sonic couldn't really relate to Shadow because he didn't um from from what we know Sonic hasn't dealt with that kind of with pain, grief, and loss like Shadow has, but here in the films like they've already dealt with it in the very first film. And of course, in movie
yeah.
three, they really hammer this home because I know there was this quote Tom, that, that Tom said that like, uh, yeah, I think they were in Sonic's cave, I think, and they were looking at a drawing that Sonic drew of him and Longclaw. And he said, "You didn't let your pain change who you are." And I think that's a very important lesson because
Yeah.
In
um
my lungs.
like
Yeah. In
like
my
lit
lungs.
like like literally Shadow let his pain change who he was. Meanwhile Sonic did not let that change him. Sure, he kind of, when he was fighting,
Almost, yeah.
yeah, but then he kind of remembered Tom's words and he's like, this isn't who I am. Like he stopped himself and and I kind of like how he gave Shadow advice, because Shadow literally asked him, did your pain ever go away? And Sonic's like, no, but what's better is love. It's like the love that you have for Maria should be it. I kind of like how he said, even though she's gone, you know, it's like that's what you need to hold on to.
Yeah,
And
like the love will never fade.
mhm. And I like the theme that they hammer into this in movie three. I think they handled it very well. Any
Dumb
thoughts?
venom.
Any thoughts?
Um, I kind of like to think that the reason why I kind of like to think like, okay, I'm going back to like the first movie and how he was supposed to be like running away from everything or something like that. Like the first how do I explain this? I just know that I just know that at some point he lost Longclaw or something, but the reason why he couldn't do anything about it was because she told him to run, and and he was like young and he couldn't do anything about it. What was he to do? But then later on, I also like, now that like Tom is like right there to where he's in right now, like, and like, okay, because Shadow was like right there, right in front of Tom, seeing him knocked out or something. He was like, "What did you do?"
Mm-hmm.
And knowing that his target was right in front of him, he had to do something about it. He wasn't told to run away. He used the power to protect his friends or something, but still, it was out of revenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I think what was interesting, well, this is gonna be safer. It's gonna be safer, different. But m- but overall, how do you think movie three handled this topic, dealing with loss, pain, and grief?
I
How did
think
I
they
think of
hand,
it?
Yeah, what did you think? How do you think they handled it? Do you think they handled it pretty well?
I think they handled it pretty well. Because like say, like you mentioned, Sonic lost Longclaw, and he that was able to have the connection with Shadow and Maria. It's what creates that very heartfelt moment when they talk, and they made me cry. And yeah, I think it deals with it very well. Um, because for me, sadly, I was watching this film just after a breakup happened, so the film really hit me a lot. While it's not like it's like the loss of the breakup, I think is what also affected me watching the movie. But I could relate to it in that aspect, and that's what caused me to cry in that scene, and it really helped me get through my own emotions. And so I say they handled it brilliantly in this movie, because breakups are the same thing. You have a loss, pain, and grief as well, because you're kind of grieving the fun times, and they're gone out of your life, and you're having pain getting through it, and you do go for that kind of villain arc. You do slightly get a bit like bit snappy and snarky, so you start kind of losing yourself. And this film it really spoke to me when watching it. So seeing Sonic about to lose who he was with his villainous arc happening, and yeah, I could really relate to it. So I'd say they handle it brilliantly in this movie.
Yeah, but like I think what I like is that they don't oversaturate it. They kind of just sprinkle it in so that way it's not
Yeah.
much, you know. So I but yeah, that yeah, they handled it very well in this film because I wanted to see how they dealt with loss, pain, and grief because Maria's death is a very vital piece of Shadow's like tragic backstory, you know, and I love how they handled it in the film. All right, so let's talk about the next segment, the
Yes.
parallels of Sonic and Shadow. So, what I love in movie three, what they did is that they established ever since the first film that Sonic lost someone very precious to him, who was like a parental figure to him, and mother. And Shadow had to deal with a loss like that too with Maria, and Maria was like a sister to him. And I kind of like how in that specific moon scene, because that moon scene is probably the most vital thing for this,
Yeah.
is that like movie Sonic was able to relate more because as I mentioned previously, game counterpart Sonic could not relate to Shadow's pain and loss because he's never
No.
through it. Here, meanwhile, in movie three, he's able to relate because Longclaw was like his adopted mother, you could say, and
Mm.
the fact is that he ended up losing her at such a young age, and what's interesting is that like it's like as Tom said, he didn't let his pain change who he was. Um, Meanwhile, with Shadow, it was like the direct opposite, where he actually wanted to get revenge against, against the against those who inadvertently killed Maria. So it was something that movie Sonic can relate to Shadow. And I love that talk on the moon because that is the most vital thing with what they talked about.
Yeah.
And and what literally movie Shadow asked him is like, and he's like, did your pain ever go away? And he said no, and he's like, but what I remember is the love that we shared. And he's like, and that's what you need to hold on to. And
Mm.
he's like, even though she's gone, even though Maria is gone, um like your love for her will never go away. And he said, and and I love the parallel that they did with that because like I said, it makes movie Sonic more a more rounded character where he can actually relate to Shadow. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. but the talking on the moon scene was so vital.
It was very. I think in the games, Shadow was supposed to be seen as like the opposite reflection of what Sonic wasn't. So I think that he was supposed to be like mirrored instead of like some. I don't know where I'm going with this.
He's supposed to be mirrored instead of in his shadow.
I think so. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I'm a little bit tired. I've just come back from work.
You're all good.
I mean, I feel you, man.
Go on, Andrew.
Yeah, but I think in the film verse, they keep that whole, they kind of parallel each other, but they made it more with their backgrounds of what's happened in their lives to make it more understanding with each other.
Hmm. Yeah, like for sure, because like Sonic was about to go down the same path Shadow was on, and then he stopped himself. I kind of like how Shadow's like was like go on. he's
Come
trying to
on, I'm right here. Do a
and then he's
Yeah,
like
finish me, come on.
yeah, but then he's like he stopped himself. So movie Sonic
Yeah,
almost went down that same path Shadow did. But then he's like, wait, this is not who I am. And then he stopped
I mean,
himself.
that's a question right there. If he didn't stop himself, would he have actually killed Shadow?
Yeah, like yeah,
he
that's
was
a
still he was still super. Shadow was back to normal, and Sonic was still super. So
yeah, that part was so interesting. Yeah. It- because that would have been very like crazy, if if movie Sonic did not stop himself, but he actually restrained himself and he's like, oh my gosh. So any
yeah.
thoughts what did you think of the parallels of Sonic and Shadow in movie 3 too?
Wait, what?
What did you think of the parallels of Sonic and Shadow in movie 3?
I don't think.
Like
There
you
you
could
go.
just like you could have just commented saying it was brilliant.
More so, like I kind of like to think like the parallels between these two are like interesting because like yes, that's the only way I could explain it because explaining things are not my forte. So yes.
All right. I guess we'll go to the next one. Gerald Robotnik's characterization in the book. Oh my gosh.
Love
Like
the picture.
yeah. His characterization was you could say it's more sinister than his game counterpart. Like the
Oh yeah.
dude. Mm.
What's going on?
Um so so basically Gerald Robotnik in the movie was just so sinister. Like in this movie, like he did not care Like he was more heartless, if anything. Like he was under the impression that he cared about Ivo, and then um um
Um,
yeah, but like because like the way he just used Ivo was just like, oh, that's cold, bro. like like he didn't really care like who he was gonna end up killing, you know? And he literally said he didn't care if he died along with the others. I was like, wow. Like like what was your guys' thoughts on it?
at first I thought he was like, oh, he's really silly, but then I see him, at the very end, and I'm like, oh, he's evil, but still silly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He is more. He definitely is more goofy in this one.
Gorsh.
That's obviously, yeah, that's obviously because Jim Carrey. Um, yeah, he's definitely more goofy than he is from the games, and yeah, he's so drastically different. It's just like he's so kind of unexpected as well. You know, like you knew
Yeah.
he was going to be bad, but you didn't expect him to be like that bad. Like as in like when it wants to wipe out everybody, including himself. It's like, whoa, okay, he's more crazy than we thought. He's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the best way to sum it. It's like he's under the impression that he wants to bond with Ivo, because they did have that bonding thing, and then it's like then he reveals his real intention. It's like, whoa, that's messed up, man.
Yeah.
That's all.
So
That's all I have to
technically,
say. That's
I'd
all I
say
have.
so. Technically, he did use, Robotnik.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He did use him in the end. So he was just using him for world domination and, well, not world domination, to
It was.
world's planet destroy thingy, destroy the planet.
Mass murder.
Mass
Yeah.
murder. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Let's destroy planet.
Yeah. So how would you sum up Gerald Robotnik's characterization, Doom?
As like I said, silly at first, but later on evil, but more silly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's all we have to say about that. In just our summaries. All right, here's the next one. Shadow and Maria's bonding montage. I have to say they did this pretty well in the movie. We actually get to see them actually do stuff together. Like Maria was literally trying to teach Shadow how to do the wave. I found that part really
Yeah.
cute. Um, I think also like she was like using him to like, ride with her rollerblades, I guess across the halls. um and then they crashed into the food and they were
Yeah.
making food angels.
That's cute.
Yeah, that part was adorable. And then I know they were watching on the TV, they were watching a movie, and the part is that she just threw popcorn at him and he just looks at her and she's like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So that's what so that part was adorable. And of course I also love when she first meets him and she just, of course in that screenshot right there, she drew on the on the glass to make him smile. And I think it's like a rabbit, I think that's what she
Yeah,
drew.
no, it's definitely not a rabbit. It's obviously a goat.
But I kind of like how they do that because it adds more nuance to Maria's character. Because we didn't really see that much with her game counterpart, but in the movie they really exemplified very well.
To be fair, she was sick in that, so what other kind of personality is she supposed to have?
Yeah, but I think
Good point.
yeah, the fact is that they remove that in her movie counterpart. I think it added some nuance at least where we can actually see her. Like you guys said, she was just being a kid. You know, um,
Yeah.
like it really shows nuance to their bond. I think it shows their bond a lot better in the movie You know, it's just like mostly implied, but here in the movie you could clearly see it.
Yeah, because
Sometimes
you
when
can
you
see
have
like
the most, go on.
I was gonna say yeah, because you can see like Shadow seems hesitant to get to know people and humans in general, and she kind of brought him out of that and made him feel comfortable and made him feel like he's actually got a family and he's at home and stuff. Yeah. No, I love the montage. I think it's a great montage. I could happily watch another 2 minutes added to the montage because I was enjoying all the little things they were doing and bonding. I love the little cameo of the bio lizard on the in the film. They're watching Beware the Alien Freak. I think that was really smart. But yeah, no, I liked it.
What's your thoughts on the bonding montage, Doob?
I literally look at these two and I'm thinking, oh, they're so cute. It made me actually hug my decapitated shadow plush.
Oh, yeah.
Like he's just a baby. Proceeds to put his head.
I think what was cherry on the top is that when they first meet, when she first meets Shadow, she just imitates his frowning. Like, did you guys notice that when she
Yeah.
like she imitated his frown? Like that was like cherry on the top. But yeah, Shadow and Maria's bonding montage was just like you could say they're like two. They're just adorable in that, and yeah, the it was very wholesome, and you can really feel it once you can really feel like the loss even more in the movie because of it. So yeah. All right, here's the next segment. This is a play on words, Supersonic Brothers scene.
It was a joke.
Yes,
It
but
was a joke.
because this literally happened in the Super Mario Brothers 2023 movie, so just to play
It
on it.
was a joke.
But it works so well. But anyways, okay, I have to say, I love what they did with the Supersonic and Super Shadow scenes.
Oh yeah.
um, when they first fight and then Shadow taps into his super form and then they fight, I'm like I was surprised that Shadow was able to take Sonic in his super form in the movie. Like and that was just in his base form and I'm like, "Whoa."
Him and
Like
Yeah.
Knuckles are gonna have a nice conversation together.
but yeah, I love the scenes of that. Like they had pretty good fight scenes and then of course I kind of like when they actually when they actually try to just hold back the laser, like wow. Like the action in when they showcase Supersonic and Super Shadow was was brilliant. Like it kind of gave me a bit of like the Super Mario Brothers 2023 movie vibes with Mario and Luigi when they have star on them. So yeah, it kind of
Yeah.
it gave me that hype.
The difference is the hype with these two and their super forms has more hype because like it was longer. It's longer.
Yeah. Yeah, so any thoughts about the supersonic and super shadow scenes in the movie?
Yeah.
I mean, my thoughts were kind of silly because the first time I've seen these two in their super forms, like Shadow is not like a lighter yellow. He's more like a pinkish tone, right?
Yeah.
All I
Yeah.
thought about was the Fry Cook games from SpongeBob and thought, yellow, pink, you do care.
Oh.
That's what I thought, at least.
What did you think, Andrew, of the supersonic and super shadow scenes?
I absolutely loved them. I do wish they were a bit longer, personally. Like them fighting, like it goes so quick. Like when you watch it, it's like, well, it goes really fast. And then next thing you know, it's like we go straight to like Jim Carrey scenes. Then we go back to Sonic and Shadow. Then it's straight back to Jim Carrey scenes. And the Jim Carrey scenes, for me, watching it felt a little bit longer than the Super Sonic and Super Shadow stuff.
Mhm.
um, and when they fight the machines, the robots and stuff, and they hear the Live and Learn orchestra in the background, you're just like grinning and you're getting goosebumps. You're like, oh my gosh. And it ends really quickly. You're like, oh, I was just getting into this. No, keep it going for another minute, please. um, I love what they did. I love what we had. I just wish it was a bit extended, like just a little bit, like at least by like an extra 1 minute. Because when you look online, like the fight scene with them just fighting the robots, for example, is like 30 seconds. 30
Uh,
seconds. And I'm like, oh man, first time round it felt longer, but second time round it goes really quick.
yeah.
And when you realize it's only 30 seconds, you're like, oh man, I wish it was like at least like 1 minute and 20 seconds. The Jim Carrey scenes are like a minute, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely say this though, that that weird transition that you go from Supersonic and Super Shadow to when Gerald is like spanking like Ivo's butt. It's like, why does it go from an epic scene to like what? It was like, what am I
Or
watching?
comedic effect.
I'm just like, what am I watching? So, yeah, I do agree. I wish they were longer, but I'm glad they got at least some decent screen time. At
Yeah.
least. Um, but yeah, that's all I have to say about those scenes. Ooh, okay. This predictions for Sonic movie
Hey.
4. Oh my gosh, we got to talk about this. As as you all know, if you have seen the movie, there was two post-credit scenes with the reveal of Amy Rose and Metal Sonic in the first one. So, I'll tell you my thoughts first because I was the first one out of the three of us who watched the movie first. Oh my gosh, I screamed
Yeah,
so
yeah,
loud.
rub it in my poor face anyway.
I I s- I screamed so loud when I saw Amy. Because like I know that my theater we got so hyped when we saw Metal first because Metal was revealed first, and then as soon as we see all these other copies of Metal Sonic, like oh my gosh, so many are about to jump movie Sonic, and then you see the pink blur, and you're like, oh, and the whole theater was screaming, and I feel that was a great introduction to introduce Metal and Amy, you know, because it kind of hypes up of like, ooh, what's this prediction for movie 4 is gonna be? um, but yeah, all right, Andrew, you're next since you're the one who saw it second.
Um, yeah, I mean, I kind of was myself. I was kind of predicting Metal Sonic was going to appear. Um, I just wasn't expecting multiple Metal Sonics. um, no, it was a big surprise though. Like, when I was just watching it, and then Metal Sonic, just came out of nowhere, and I was like, "It's Metal Sonic! Oh my gosh!" In the theater, when I saw it on that day, you hear the background going, "Oh yeah, Metal Sonic! Oh my gosh!" Um, Yeah, and then obviously as it was progressing, I thought, okay, I wonder where this is going to go because it was actually like wasn't like a quick post credit scene. It was actually quite a long post credit scene, and it comes across like it feels almost like a Smash Bros. Reveal trailer. You know what I mean? Like it just showed the new fighter Metal Sonic, and then it's like next new fighter Amy's also in it. It's like oh my gosh! And when the hammer came, like, I just got goosebumps. Like oh my gosh, we get Amy as well. Oh my gosh, this is so awesome. And I heard somewhere that apparently Amy was supposed to say something, but they decided to scrap the line and she just says nothing. So I think that's much more effective. So I like that. And it's just like, yeah, just hearing the crowds cheer and get super excited was just even more exciting. And I was like, oh my gosh, number 4, Amy and Metal Sonic. And they look so great. The designs are great. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, Metal Sonic looks exactly like he does from the games. It's crazy. It's just beautiful. It's like watching art come to life on screen, and you're just like, it's amazing. Um, for the second post credit scene, um, to be fair, my brain first thought, oh, we're in the like, looks like, oh my gosh, is this going to be the Black Comet? Are we having Black Doom? And then I heard behind me, the audience behind me was like, Silver, Silver, Silver. They kept screaming Silver's name, and obviously it was Shadow picking up his rings. I was like, oh, Shadow's alive. He lives. But no, I had a great time with that post credit scenes.
Yeah. All right, Doom. This I gotta hear. What was your full reaction to the post-credit scene?
Are we talking about reactions or are we talking about predictions?
In like you, let's talk about reaction first, and then prediction.
So so you guys knew I watched this with my sister, and I told her about there being a post-credit scene about it, but I don't know what it was. When I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, it's Metal Sonic, and there's more of it. I also, yeah, but that wasn't really me though. I mean, that's what I thought, but then I see the pink camera. I'm like, sis, look. I mean, the moment she was revealed, I was like, oh my God. Like for 4 years I've waited for this. 4 years I've waited for it. My sister saw this and I'm like, oh my gosh, Amy looks so cute. And me, I was like,
Exactly. Oh, like literally, Andrew and I had to like hold our tongues while we waited for you to watch because we couldn't say anything. We're just like, come on, you need to watch this. We want to know your reaction. um, because as soon as I saw that reaction video that you posted on your Twitter, that like me after Sonic 3, all I have to say is this. That was a great reaction. Um, but yeah, let's talk about what do you guys predict will be the story for movie 4?
you're the person I'm here. Goodbye.
It's gonna be time travel, obviously. Because if you look how Metal Sonic comes in, he comes in like the Terminator, like Terminator movies. He just comes in teleported just exactly like the Terminator. So he's obviously been sent from the future to obviously kill Sonic, and that's why there's so many of them. And obviously Amy must have come from the future, so they might be spicing it up, saying Amy's actually from the future, not from the present day, and that's why she's come to save him and knows what happens. Um, yeah, I think it's gonna be about time travel, and this is how you bring back, Robotnik. If Jim Carrey wants to come back, he's up for it. So this is how you bring Robotnik back. It's gonna be a different version of him from a different timeline, probably. Um, but yeah, it's probably gonna be different, like time travel timelines or something like that, and because that's time travel for you, you can have different versions out there. um, And I'm pretty sure that I'm getting a feeling Silver will be incorporated somehow. I just get this strong sense that Silver is going to be in the movie, whether it's going to be in the film or it's going to be a post-credit scene. Something about Silver is just, I just, I just keep sensing him like it's going to happen. And I mean, the coolest thing is with this, because Amy's probably going to be from a different timeline or whatever, they can bring in like Team Rose easily in this film because Amy could be like, oh, here's my team, by the way, and here's Cream and Big. So we could be seeing more than just these two in the next movie because you can easily incorporate Amy with a team in this film. So I'm expecting Amy as a team. She's from the future. That's why she's in a cloak, hiding herself. She can't be seen because even though she showed herself to Sonic. But you know, I just get this feeling it's gonna be time travel because Sonic CD was also time travel, and I'm sensing Silver.
Ooh, nice. How about you, Doom? Any predictions for movie 4?
No, I wanted to keep myself surprised.
Okay. Yeah, like yeah, it probably like I do agree, Andrew, because the way you said about Metal Sonic coming in like the Terminator, and for those who are Terminator fans or kind of know, that deals with a lot of time travel. So it could
Yeah.
be, like you're probably on the right track. It probably might have something to do with time travel in some way. Um, and I noticed it immediately too when you mentioned it that like, oh yeah, Metal Sonic comes in like the Terminator. I'm like, yeah, I remember watching Terminator. Um, so it's an interesting Easter egg reference. Yeah. And I do believe it might be dealing with time travel because literally
Yeah.
Amy Metal is from CD, which is pretty much time travel. The story, the whole plot point was time travel. But we'll have to wait
Yeah.
and see.
Also, also it would it would explain Amy's hammer because it looks very futuristic and like it flies around and goes back to her. So it's kind of sci-fi, and obviously it wouldn't kind of make sense if you said it's from the present day. That's just my guess.
Mhm. Yeah, so yeah, that's all the predictions that we'll have for Sonic Movie 4, but we'll have to wait until 2027 in March
Yeah,
to see
March time. And I plan to see it 4 times because I saw the first one once, saw the second one twice in cinemas, and I've seen the third one 3 times. And the fourth one, I have to see it 4 times. I got to keep the tradition.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Wait till we
okay.
get to Sonic Movie 10. Oh.
Oh god.
Or
Okay.
Sonic Movie 100.
No, no.
All right, so here's the next segment. So this one was literally Doom's idea to ME. I put logical versus emotional. I think this scene was very, very interesting and powerful. Um, because like it's very interesting that Knuckles was being the logical one here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Sonic and literally Knuckles is calling him out that like you are very emotional right now and you are not in the right position to be making choices right now. And I found that so interesting coming from Knuckles, because you would think that would be Tails, right? Like being the voice of reason, but here Knuckles was being the voice of reason. And I found that so interesting, you know. And and I think the scene was very effective, you know, because as we know, Knuckles clearly grew, from his show, from the TV series he had. So at least
Oh, yeah, the
he
Wade Show.
the Wade show,
It's the goat.
but but he literally had he was being the logical one, and I found that very interesting. And then Sonic was more the emotional one, and I kind of like how they both activated their powers, and then Tails is like, "Oh no," like that scene was chilling, because it's like, and then Knuckles gave in, and he's like, "Okay," and then he's like, "I know it," like I think it was like an oath they made that like and stuff, but I found the scene very effective.
Yeah.
Like, what did you guys think of Knuckles being the logical one here?
I didn't think anything. I just thought, oh, poor Tails.
I know, like Tails is like he's just there, like witnessing them. I'm like, oh no, is a fight about to break out?
Yeah,
But
poor Tails.
like, what did you think, Andrew? Like, what did you think of like Knuckles actually being the logical one here?
I thought it was a great what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. No, I think it was a great way. It was a great scene to showcase they're not like they've got their moments where they're gonna have like get butt heads and situations and making decisions. And Sonic was supposed to be the leader, but at this point Knuckles became the leader. It's like they swapped places. um I thought it was quite nice. I thought it was a good scene and everything. It was I love the chemistry between these three, and it's good to see moments like this because it just adds more character and adds more depth, and it adds more things to it, and to see Knuckles being more the logical thinker and being like, no, this is wrong, Sonic, you're emotional, you're not thinking straight, and Sonic's not paying attention, because he just wants revenge now. He has become Shadow in his villain arc. It was no, it was, like I said, it was refreshing to see, because we've seen Sonic and Knuckles kind of like butt heads before in these kind of situations, but usually Sonic is doing it for like the good reasons, but for this is more for revenge. So it was it was a good different take. Like, it was a different take how Sonic usually gets in these situations, but no, I loved it, and I agree. I feel sorry for Tails being caught in the middle of all this, and I mean, poor Tails seems to be caught in the middle of all these movies. He's just kind of just there. He's like, he still hasn't got his own series. Knuckles got a series before him, and they're talking about Shadow series. What about Tails? Give Tails a series. Come on, he deserves one. Let's have an origin story of where Tails was, why he came to be, how he found out about Sonic. It'd be nice to explore that. You know.
Mhm. How about you, Doom? Did you have any thoughts about this specific scene where Knuckles was being the logical one?
I mean, it really improves his character, like how he was back then and how he's portrayed in the movies. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
He was given the ability to think again.
Yeah, like you could say movie Knuckles has more nuance where he's actually being the logical one. He's not letting like he's actually being smart about this where it's like, yeah, it's best not to be ruled by your emotions, especially like revenge. Because when you think of those types of negative emotions, you're not thinking straight. Um and and literally Knuckles was giving him this warning about it. So I think that's what was interesting about that scene. It was very effective for what it was. All right. Here is the next one. Keanu Reeves' performance.
Hey.
Like
Breathtaking.
I love him. I love him. I love him. I love him so much. Oh my god.
What I will say is that it's very clear because I know Jeff Fowler has mentioned this that Keanu Reeves actually did his research on Shadow and his backstory. So it clearly shows in his voice performance in the movie. Um, he portrays Shadow with so many array of emotions and stuff, and it's very believable. And you can chalk it up to him doing all that research. And I love when celebrities do that because they put love and care into portraying a character, like Shadow. So Keanu Reeves, you did such a phenomenal job. You made Shadow very believable, you know. I can feel like the sadness, I can feel the rage when he wanted revenge. Like Keanu Reeves just nailed
Oh
Shadow.
yeah. You can really feel the pain in his voice, and I love it. It's to me, I think this is Keanu Reeves' best acting performance in all of the things he's done, because compared to him, compare him in Toy Story 4, we did Duke Kaboom, great fun character, but you knew it was like it's Keanu Reeves doing a character. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it was bad acting. What I'm saying is you knew it was Keanu Reeves. You recognized him. But with this, it's Keanu Reeves, but you always you completely forget it's him. You just think this is Shadow the Hedgehog talking. This is Shadow. This is just Shadow coming out and everything. It's wonderful.
And any other thoughts, Doom, other than the one that you mentioned?
Wait, what?
Any other thoughts about Keanu Reeves' performance as Shadow?
I just thought he's just a baby.
He's just a baby.
Just a baby.
Oh, but yeah, Keanu Reeves did such a phenomenal job.
He made me
did.
feel things. He made me feel things like as if I'm the mother.
Oh.
Yeah. Also, I read somewhere that Sonic 3 has become his third highest grossing film in his whole career.
Oh wow.
Yes, only so his I think his highest grossing is like Toy Story 4 or Matrix Reloaded, one of those two. But yeah, Sonic 3 is his third highest grossing film of his whole career. So
Nice.
that's really cool.
It's definitely well deserved, though. Movie three is definitely the best out of the three.
Oh,
um,
definitely, yeah.
yeah. So
But I think
Keanu.
didn't they say somewhere there's talks of maybe going forward, like making it less humans?
Mm, well, we'll
I
just
read
have to wait.
somewhere. Yeah.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's 'cause Sonic 4 might just be just Jim Carrey and a bunch of CGI animals.
Yeah, but Keanu Reeves' performance, he did such a phenomenal job. Clearly shows in
Yeah,
his
yeah, loved it,
performance.
loved him.
Right? So pros and cons of movie three. All right, let's start. Any negatives? Let's start with the negatives first.
No.
How about you, Andrew?
Um, I think the like let's get distracted by that. What was I saying? I do find the human elements, like when they're breaking into London. I do feel it slows down the film a little bit. You got this like really good like fast pacing and energy, and then it kind of slows down a little bit. Not like in a bad way, but I would say that's kind of the weakest part of the film.
Mhm.
Um, and I think obviously like you know sometimes it does shift where it's like it's very serious, then it goes super funny, then serious. Like sometimes it does jump.
Mhm.
Um, but again, I still love the movie. It made me cry. Um, and also, like, I love that Sonic said the line, from Venture 2, where he says, talk about low budget flights, no food and movies. I'm out we're out of here. But at the same time, I couldn't help but feel like it just felt like it was a bit out of place. Like he just randomly says it, like,
Mhm.
like it's just a reference for the fans to go, "Hey, he said the line." Because I was at first, my first viewing, I was like, "He said the line. That's so cool." My second viewing, I was like, "It doesn't really. It just sounds so out of the blue. Like he's just saying it, like just for the sake of reference."
Yeah.
Um, that's some of the, and also I wish the Supersonic and Shadow stuff was longer. That's a, I guess that's a negative. Like I just wish it was longer.
Mm.
You,
They're a little
you
bit
know,
too short.
you know what? Maybe I do have some cons about this. It's
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
it was most likely because of okay, it was basically Randall and Rachel they're in the movie but they actually aren't, and that's kind of something that made me think, oh man, I want to see more of their relationship. But then again, but I mean, but then again, it's Rachel. I love her. I don't care. And then there's also this one soldier that I keep forgetting her name. Like
Oh,
she's
is
so
it
unimportant. What?
Rockwell?
Yeah,
Rockwell?
like she's so unimportant to
Yeah,
me that I can't even remember her name.
yeah, no, yeah. She's a con of the film. I think she's just in it and doesn't really do much for the film.
Like, who does she
Mhm.
And
think
even
she
then,
is?
yeah, and even then, we don't know what happens afterwards. She's just like, that's it. She's gone.
Yeah.
Another thing is that Maria is like more of an important character to the movie than Rachel and Randall in the movie, and yet she doesn't have like a poster of Maria.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
that part was weird. I don't know. Like that part was weird because it's like, how come Rachel and Randall got character posters and they were just there for like a
As
few minutes.
disguises.
Yeah, as disguises. Like that part was a little bit odd in terms of the marketing. um, but yeah, I would
I guess
say. Oh,
sorry,
go
I got
ahead.
one more thing. I think my one more con recently with the last two films is that the human elements feels like they're trying to force them in somehow. Because like with Sonic 2, you can tell like, oh, we'll just do this wedding plot and just have that going on, even though technically it wasn't actually needed. And then we
Yeah.
have them just helping out Sonic and Tails and Knuckles to break into the base because Tom and Maddie are great characters and we do need them. At the same time, we don't need them now. They've kind of got to that point where I think it's time to let Sonic run on his own. And you can tell that with the storylines when they write these movies, it just feels like, okay, we have to incorporate them somehow. It's like, oh yeah, let's make them join in the break in the base. When you could have literally made it Sonic and Tails wearing disguises. You know what I mean? Like if they just use a little device. So yeah, I don't know. It makes me feel like the humans are kind of like they don't know what to do with them now in some aspects. Even though they're likable characters, like we love Tom, we love Maddie, we love Wade, and you love to see them. But at the same time, it's like, what? How do you fit them into these plots that are clearly geared towards more Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles being the main characters now? And that's why 3 works so well when you focus mainly on them. And the human part just feels like, oh, we're just gonna just make them join the break-in because we have to find a way to incorporate them. That's what it felt like to me. So that's the my little cons. But yeah.
Yeah, but like I do agree. But yeah, I definitely agree that like it kind of feels like they're trying to force the human characters, even though it like they're not necessarily needed. Um, because because I would say like Tom and Maddie, it's because they are technically the adoptive parents of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
meanwhile Rachel and Randall it's like yeah, they were probably the most random to fit into movie 3. um but yeah, but I also agree also that I wish the Super Sonic and Super Shadow scenes were longer because yeah, if you do watch them multiple times, you'll notice how short their scenes are.
Yeah.
um and everything. But yeah, those are my cons. But let's talk about the pros now. I have to say the story was pretty solid, which it made sense for the movie universe.
Oh yeah.
The story was very compelling. The characterizations were just top notch for especially Shadow, Maria, and Gerald. Um, and let me see. I would say like this movie has funny moments, but we'll explain that in the next segment. So I'll keep the because because I would say this movie has a good balance of comedy and seriousness at the same time. Um, I think that's what it did pretty well in my opinion. What's your
Yeah.
guys?
Rose. Well, I love Keanu Reeves as Shadow. um, I love the chemistry between Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles. I think Ben, Colleen, and Idris do such a great job with it. I also love how like Ben Schwartz is really like mastering Sonic. Like, because in the first movie, it was more like, you know, I guess like a lot of Ben Schwartz vibes. Like it's Ben Schwartz voicing Sonic, but with 2 and 3, it's like now he's Sonic. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of Sonic-y vibes and everything. He just nailed it now. What else do I like? I like Super Sonic and Shadow fighting those robots with the Live and Learn. Live and Learn was great to hear on the big screen. I also want to just give like a massive pro to Jeff Fowler's direction. He does such a great job with the directing of the scenes. That opening scene with Shadow breaking out of the glass and we're knocking everyone out, and the way it's done, and the action scene with the bike chase action scene with Sonic and Shadow, terrific, just amazing. So I think the directing is amazing in this film. Um, the story was great. I love the emotional beats. Like I said, I cried. Um, I love how everything was done. It was just so epic in scale. Like when I came out the cinema, I was like, now that's cinema. You know what I mean? This is what we go to the big screen for. Things like this, something unique and refreshing and epic in scale that just takes you out of the world and into that world. Because you still get good movies that do come out, but a lot of the time I do find like, they don't suck me in enough. nowadays compared to like the classics that I grew up with. Like you look back at Jurassic Park and like the classic Lion King. It's just so timeless. And with this, it has that '90s classic vibe, like the old school cinema vibe. It's crazy. So yeah, like I got mostly positive reviews from me, mostly positive. It's a high score for me, and you know, I loved everything about it. Really, I really felt for Agent Stone as a pro as well. He was great in it. I really felt for him a lot more in this one, and I kind of wish there was more Tails and Agent Stone stuff. I'd love to see them two in this Tails spin-off series. Actually, that'd be great. But yeah, no, I loved it. It was fantastic.
How about you, Doom? What's your pros?
Wade was in it. I mean, that's my pro because, like, come on, it's Wade.
And
but other than that, I really loved how they did Agent Stone. I mean, poor him, because it's like neglection or something. Like he's spending more time with someone else than you. I mean, come on, this poor man.
Yeah.
And the moment when Tails came in, when Tails is asking about him and Eggman or something like that, my first thought was like him saying, "I miss my wife, Tails." I miss him a lot.
Oh.
But other than that, like separating myself as a Sonic fan, I just think that the movie is like really fun to watch with your family or so.
For sure. Like it has everything in it for
And
family.
Ozzy being there. I love Ozzy. We don't talk about Ozzy enough. Like he took my humans.
I love how it was misspelled like purposely.
He took my humans.
Nice. Yeah, like this movie really set the expectations of video game like movie adaptations on a high bar level. Like that's another pro. And of course, my favorite pro of all time, that Amy reveal. I
Oh
was
yeah.
like, they did it in such a way where it made sense, where I can totally see how they would reveal Amy. So that's definitely my last pro for movie 3. But we are on the last segment, which is favorite scenes from Sonic Movie 3. So let's rapid fire this. And of course, I know, Doom, that you mentioned that scene when Wade appears, which is why it's in the segment card. But I have to say, like, okay, do you guys remember when Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Agent Stone and Ivo go to that abandoned gun base and stuff, and Shadow
Yeah.
decides to like and Shadow decides to sneak up on them. And the first one was with Knuckles. Is like, get a grip. Boom. Like, it's so funny how people kind of deduce, did Shadow watch horror movies? Because he snuck up on them. And I think my favorite reaction was like Tails and Stone's reaction. Because they just see a rat run by and then they turn around and they're like, oh. um that's that scene was like my favorite when he was like scaring the others and tying them up. um And of course, another favorite scene of mine was when Gerald and Ivo was doing that dance in when they're sneaking to get that second key card in the gun base.
We're just dancing through the lasers.
That part was so glorious. I'm like, ah, yeah, there's got to be at some point a dance scene, and they deliver.
I wonder
Um,
how Jim Carrey feels about dancing with himself.
that's a great question. um, I think another one of my other favorite scenes has to be when what was the I'm trying to remember that. Oh yeah, of course the one with Shadow and the Latina when he talks about like Gabriella, she killed them both. Like that's also another favorite scene of mine.
That's also the closest to Keanu saying my name. That made me scream.
um I think also another one was, of course, the Supersonic and Super Shadow scenes. Those were epic. Gotta be one of my favorite scenes as well in the movie. I think another one is like literally when Maddie just imitates Rachel so well. Like that got a laugh out of me when that happened.
I mean, when
um
you know your sister well enough, you make a believable disguise, I guess.
yeah, so those are my favorite scenes from movie 3. Andrew, would you like to go next?
Yeah. There's quite a lot of scenes I liked. Um, Obviously, I love the Sonic and Shadow bike chase scene. I think that was great, especially when Sonic jumps through the vehicle and just holds onto the bike, and Shadow's just driving it. Even though Shadow doesn't need to ride the bike, and it's clearly in for fan service, but it was just I loved it. Um, Team Sonic jumping out of the plane. That was epic with the neon lights music. I love that scene. I also find it hilarious, and I love that Knuckles being scared watching Casper.
There's no such thing as a friendly ghost.
I love that. Shadow and Maria stuff. I love that as well. Some of my favorite scenes, especially when they talk, looking at the stars and everything. I love that bit. Um, the climax with fighting the robots with the live and learn theme, stopping the beams hitting the planet, Knuckles jumping out to rescue Sonic and Tails. I mean, that was just so epic. I mean, just think about that. Knuckles is jumping from outer space to rescue
Yeah.
Sonic and Tails, and
Mm.
just doesn't even burn apart. He just gets through it. It's amazing. But I guess he's the
Because
flames
the
of disaster.
flames of
So,
disaster.
yeah. What else is that? I love the Sonic and Shadow talking on the moon. That's probably my top favorite scene, actually, of the whole film. Just so moving, and like I said, really got to me. And I also love the Tom puppet, little Tom. I think that's
No.
hilarious. Little Tom.
I was like,
I just love that.
I found it so hilarious where she's like, I told you to get rid of that. It's because it's really creepy.
Yeah.
Like, like I love how she said that.
I also
Any other
love that the puppet responds with, "I told you to get rid of her."
Oh my god. Any other scenes?
Oh, one more that I love. When Robotnik and Gerald break the fourth wall. Played by the
Oh,
same actor. I love that scene. Oh, and
like
Robotnik trauma dumping as well, just going about his trauma. I wasn't finished trauma dumping.
oh my god. Yeah, those are some solid scenes, yeah. How about you, Doom, other than the wait scene?
Oh man, I love the wait scene. Okay, okay. Other than the wait scene, barely anyone talks about like the day that Sonic came to Earth and how much they appreciate him to the point that they made a whole celebration of it, like out camping or something. I mean, I really find that sweet, and how they started it was just by a fake race. How else are you supposed to distract Sonic? A race.
Yeah.
I also love that I also love the part where almost every scene with Shadow in it. I mean, like, you know what? Not almost every scene, every scene. Because Revenge Squad, Gabriella should kill them both. She's not a prize to be won. Like every single scene of Shadow just makes me think, oh, he's just a baby. The scenes where, the scene where Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles came back to like when they came back home or something. I don't know why I found it funny when Sonic was like, "Tell Maddie, we need your help." Knuckles. Thank you. Tell Maddie, we need your help. I don't know why I found that funny. I think my humor's just broken or something.
Yeah, like of course another funny scene has to be you know when Gerald and I fighting each other and then like the one where he's like set up defense and then he's like I was like darn it autocorrect. It just I was like oh my gosh the struggles of autocorrect is so real.
I also love when the base gets sucked into that black hole and Sonic's like, somebody better call Google Maps.
Oh, I know. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that part was hilarious too because he's like, "Oh, someone better call Google Maps that this portion of the world that this portion is missing now."
You're saying that like you're spoiling the movie to me, like I haven't watched it.
Uh, but but yeah, like this movie had a lot of solid scenes. It has a lot of
Man.
like
Yeah, lots of solid scenes and a lot of quotable lines as well. Double the
yeah.
villains, double the fun.
and of course we cannot forget that weird spanking scene that just transitioned from that supersonic and super shadow scene. Like I was literally talking to one of my other friends about it. It's like I find it a weird transition. We go from an epic scene and then it's just you just see Gerald just smacking people in the butt. And I was like, this is random. This is a weird transition. um but yeah, like this movie has been it's very solid in the movie
Oh,
franchise
very.
and it definitely sets the bar high for more video game um movie adaptations. um but any last thoughts before we end this live stream?
We need more weed. I'm sorry.
I was waiting for that. Here it comes. We need more Wade. um, any last thoughts? Yeah, I look forward to Sonic 4, and there's a certain charm to these films that I've really enjoyed. Like when I first saw the first movie, I was a bit worried because usually when live action adaptations of games to films don't usually work. And I was surprised to see how well the first movie turned out. And I was like, this is actually a really good, heartfelt movie with so much soul and emotion. I love it. And, and then number two just went bigger and better, adding more Sonic elements. And then number three went kind of more full on Sonic. So I think the more Sonic it gets and the more the video game elements they incorporate, the more even more epic these films are going to get. And I love that it's been growing. I love that these films have been growing into like the characters are growing, the series is growing, it's growing with its audience, and I can't wait to see what 4 has in store, especially with Amy and Metal Sonics.
Oh, definitely.
In fact, I hope the Metal Sonics will each have their own voice actors, and we'll have Ryan, Jason, and Roger as cameos as Metal Sonics. That'd be so amazing.
Any last thoughts, too?
Like same here. I'm looking forward to Sonic 4. I would really love to see how they're gonna do Amy's character. Like I honestly don't care as long as she has like some sort of traits of her. Like similar to the games, but obviously different from the movies because the movies make their characters a lot more unique and interesting. And if we don't get like Andrew said, if we don't get a cameo with Ryan, Jason, and Roger or something like that, or any of the Sonic voice actors, that would be very illegal, in my case.
Yeah, it's about time we had cameos from the voice cast, or even Jaleel White. It'd be cool to see him on screen. That'd be quite epic. Him talking to Sonic. How cool would that be?
You know, I know Jaleel White actually mentioned he wants to cameo in movie 4. Like
they all want a cameo.
Like he actually
They all
wants
want a cameo,
which is interesting. But yeah, like movie 3 is so solid and really sets the bar, and I'm looking forward to how they handle character in movie 4. You know, because I know lots of people are like, hopefully it's a reverse thing where it's movie Sonic falls in love with Amy or starts to have
oh, it's gotta be. It's gotta be.
like
I
starts
think they're
to
kind of yeah, because I think they're kind of teasing that because obviously Sonic's never faced a female, hedgehog yet, has he? Right, like face to face. So I think he's gonna develop a crush on Amy and be like, "You're pretty cool."
But yeah, but that will be it. I want to thank you, Andrew and Doom, for for doing all these different segments of for Sonic Movie 3, our review for it.
Yeah,
It was
thank you for having us, and thank you for putting it together.
yeah, like I wanted to make sure this is more engaging, so that way the audience knows which segments we are talking about for movie 3. But stay tuned for the upcoming episode of Sonic Lore with Radar. I'm still trying to work out the details on that. And of course, for any upcoming Q&As or any other upcoming live streams, so be on the lookout. And I'm currently working the next episode of the Lucky Charm podcast with Cheese. Stay tuned for that. But I want to thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and turn on that bell notification for upcoming live streams and video content.
Shout out to True Blue for providing us with these images for the Sunday cards.
Yes.
Shout out to True Blue.
Yeah, shout out to True Blue. But thank you all again, and hopefully see you guys in the next live stream. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Bye.